So my talk will be about web service development for managers. I'll give a little bit background on this. It's a course. It's going to be given in next year's Master of Management. That is a joint managers course between the two free universities of Brussels. And it actually comes from a course I've been running for the last 2 years. So in the last 2 years I had a course just called Programming, and we were trying to update it because before these last 2 years I was working with project developments like Drupal, and there's actually so much new coming on, and you need to really think different. So like giving a programming course on, let's say something like Java or, well, they were actually giving something else, but I forgot the name of the programming language. So it's kind of a little bit outdated if you really want to make something that people can use to do service on the web. Now, in the title you see web service. I actually like to talk more about service on the web because web service mostly is so much referring to the technology itself. And I like actually to look more on the problem solving side, trying to figure out if you have a good idea, how do you make a service for it. So, but of course, the focus stays on a programming course. So this is a programming course, but it's created for managers. So let's see what's the intention from the course. First of all, we try to close the gap between the programmer and the manager. Yes. So you can see the programmer is coding, but actually if you become a quite generic programmer, you start doing problem solving more than actually coding. The coding is a means to an end, but you're solving a problem. But that's exactly what managers should do, solving problems, problem solving. So I'm trying to figure out, can we just take a manager, already kind of be in a very high programming level, and let them make the implementation of the problem. So that's a little bit the intention, trying to bridge the gap between programming and managing. So okay, I think why do we want to do this? Because of course we want to stretch the possibilities of the web. We just had a talk about social software. So you clearly see that the web is not only technology, it is clearly a combination of the social and the technology. And I'm trying to figure out, like, okay, so how can you give them both as one in a programming course? It looks a little bit strange, but we're getting there. The intention is to go to a new service. Like I said, it's trying to do service on the web, but with services, I don't only see it as a pure economical kind of point of view. You see that if you look at a lot of sites today, they both have they have some community kind of stuff, but it's good when we finally can get to a synergy where open source and business are really in a closed system. Yeah, well, from the new services, I don't know if anyone knows about the concept of a creative class. It's a concept that there is actually a new class after the service managers, and that are people that are just creative. I really like this idea that we are becoming way more free, and we're just creating stuff. We go somewhere and we create stuff, but maybe I shouldn't talk too much about it. Okay, so why use Drupal in this course? First of all, well, I'll show you a little bit later on that I originally didn't took Drupal, but it came out of it. I didn't want to push to it because I know that I can be quite dominant, and I really am a Drupal evangelist. So I want not to push it to other students, but they selected it themselves. First of all, okay, if you look at the admin level, you have so many great opportunities to the site. If you just admin it, you can create already a quite powerful application. And I think at least the three best known for it is like the core, the views, and CC Kiemen model. You can already quite build a site to your own needs. So it's not you don't need to be a programmer to make a service work. So from a programming point of view, of course, there's the hooks, the API, and the documentation. I don't know how many of you are actually programmers, but if you, for example, need to program in a language that's not documented, I mean, this is a really help. How many have actually tried to implement stuff like JavaScript or jQuery? Did you like it? I mean, you like the technology, otherwise you wouldn't program it. But did you like learning the JavaScript? How many liked it? How many hated it? Yeah, same here. So, I mean, I think for a programming environment, it's really neat. You just cut away from all the technical stuff and you try to solve the problem. So, from an entrepreneurial point of view, because trying to teach this to managers, it's an important focus. I think actually, first of all, the community is very alive. Like a lot of, well, you can come together and there's probably someone who can help you solve your problem. So that's a very important issue. But the other one, the no backward compatibility. I think it's a very, very important feature from Drupal to stay on top. I mean, I know as a programmer, I sometimes hate it because I've had to change my model already 3 times, putting like months of work in it, and just to update it to the new system. But if you just look at it from a point of a management perspective, it's very agile, and that's something. Well, if you're not agile on the web today, you can simply forget it. So I think that's a good reason why Drupal is so great to take it. Well, there are actually 2 ways you can teach something, well, programming. First of all, you can find code very boring. This is when you get lost in like a functional maze. What I mean is like, you start coding, this function work, okay, you start coding again and again, and after a while you get something that's totally not readable anymore. If I look from my background as as a programming master, we got a lot of pushed to being to have code that is very abstract, very generic. Yes, and this is why I create this small graph over here. First of all, I think this is like something that the red line is one that you'll see in most well, business-oriented programming. They just need to be to the market first. They need to make it work with the most effort, and they need to have it right away because the clients wanted it yesterday. Yes. But the problem with this system is, like you see, you get at a certain moment, you really become in trouble to get to code functions more than like take the first 50 functions wouldn't be a big problem, but the next 50, well, they'll probably never will be there, so you need to redo it again. While the green line is something I've experienced as a programming in a student, as a master programming student, is that you are so well looking at something so far away, like for example, now I know aspect-oriented programming, for example, or well, there can be several new technologies coming up, but they are not at the market yet, so probably those investments are then already too late. So what I'm trying to tell my students is that they should aim for the blue line. They should find the balance between making it very abstract and very functional. And as boring as coding can be, as fun coding can be, and I think if I think about examples in Drupal, most of you know Zach's measure machine, no? Who knows it? No? Oh, only one. Okay, so he shows how to measure Google Maps using Drupal as a measure machine, and he puts up crime dates of California. If you don't know it, just type it in Google and you'll find a very nice screencast showing you, well, how to code something without coding anything. So you solve a problem without ever needing to code. So this is what you can see as standing on the shoulders of giants, and this is really neat. And I think, well, in the last 2 years I tried to experiment with my students, and it's clearly that they took Drupal for it. Now, so just to show, you can say, well, okay, but let's go for the green line, because the green line in the end wins. Just to make sure that you understand it properly, this is actually, if you look at it in a longer term, of course, it means that at a certain moment, the investment will, of course, again, flatten down. So you can actually see that if you just scale one up, the green line now is what actually the industry will do today. They will just go to the, well, state-of-the-art technology, and they use it to apply it right away. So what you actually should do, and then I'm thinking back to the agile part, is that you really should try to work with the dynamics. Try to well, allow that stuff gets deleted and that you need to rework it. And I think the only way you can probably do this is if you have quite well abstracted code. So, what I'm trying to do during the teaching, the first thing, and it seems quite impossibly hard, I need to learn them how to search. I'm always surprised that if I'm starting to give this course, that a lot of students, well, they Google something for fun, but they don't know how to Google something for work. It's kind of strange that they have this totally separated view of Google is fun, Google is not work, well, or any other kind of searching system. So I'm putting a lot of focus on this. At the start, they have to define their projects, and they will have to find the solutions. I'm not giving them the solutions, yes? But what I will do, because most of them never have coded, those are managers, I need to tell them a little bit about programming. So what I'm doing is I make just one very easy PHP example. I start to show them how to register, log in, and then create a user profile. And once they have done like this one cycle, they have to refactor it. And they have to learn again from now an abstract point of view, redo it all the way, but think about it from an abstract point of view. You want to load a page, you want to print a page, you want to load a body, and so on and so on. So this is just one example. I think it's a very good introduction for them to get to Drupal and learn how to implement something with hooks, because at that level it is already very abstract. So I showed them a simple implementation. This year it was the contacts module, but I'm planning to give more examples in the coming years. And that should actually be enough, because what I really wanted to do is develop their project. So they have to integrate services by using other APIs. I don't want them to just look at one programming language, just look at one API environment. So Drupal, yes, but take other modules inside that use totally other systems. Learn to stand on the shoulder of giants. Learn to mash up everything. Then, of course, other languages. Don't just stick with PHP. So I give them just a few examples of PHP that they understand how to make it, well, the logic's in it. But then I give them other languages so that they don't get used to doing stuff in PHP. They need to learn to do it without a specific programming language. And then the last one, because I mean, trying to work this way gets several problems. I have a site, and at that site, the students have the obligation to make blogs about it. So it's part of the evaluation criteria that they do communicate. And well, a lot of them don't like it, but I know that at a certain moment it actually starts giving feedback to each other, and they are actually teaching each other. But this way they are learning how to do it in a community spirit. It's just a very small example. It's very, well, I guide them all the way through it, so it's not a real complexity of a community, but at least it's the intention that they learn what it means to work in a community. So again, use what is out there. It's one thing I have to repeat all the time to them. So, of course, I'm working with Drupal modules. That's what I'm explaining right away. But first of all, I wanted to show them where do I get with the students, yes? So, in the first place, I don't think they fully understand everything about node systems and blocks and everything. When I have learned them, so after the examples, but it should be enough for them to continue. And this is exactly what should happen after the project. So after the project, they should get over the kick-ass thresholds, because they have seen queries. They know how to implement models. I'm not really talking about teams. And there's one big reason I'm not talking about teams. Managers really like teams. So why do I need to show it to them if they are eager to learn it themselves? I want to learn them, but they are not eager to learn it from themselves. So, but at least just guide them. This is what I'm gets to the first prototype. So the first prototype was in 2006, 2007. It wasn't, so I didn't put the focus on Drupal, but I just asked them, okay, PHP, jQuery, Java applet, and 2 other APIs. That was the criteria. That was what they had to integrate to make sure that they don't get fixed on one language. Yes. And so I showed them Drupal, and I said, like, okay, this is an API you can integrate. I think it's a nice one. Try it out. And so in the end, the year, several good projects were given. One of them integrated SOAP for currency that was already with quite technical. There was Map24 integration, PayPal integration, and Google S integration. So, well, they were capable of doing this. So the first question I had at start is, maybe I'm asking way too much. I'm asking way too much. This is just one small course. Will they be able to do it? And it seems that they could. But what I noticed is that there was actually, in the first year, a kind of an alpha leader. He was already quite finished with his project after the first semester. It's almost 2 semesters. So as I told them that they could use everything what is possible out there, of course some students were clever enough to start following the leader, yes? And I appreciated it because they took a chance and some of them were able to get most of the criteria in the less amount of work. So, I mean, okay, one should appreciate it. Another one, a lot of people who didn't actually try to make well, risks, because this is a risk, they didn't know how I would react to the fact that they actually just copied the code of a student and then start building on top of it. So a lot of them took more the safe road, and they started like implementing all this stuff that's already in the CMS, like login, registering, all that kind of stuff. And I had something like, no, wait a minute, now you're learning all the functional stuff again. That's not what I wanted to teach you guys. But of course, well, some of them, because they saw the possibilities with the site, they transformed to Drupal. And I had, at that very moment, really doubts about it, because they were like already half of their project, and then they say, okay, I'm going to stop this and I'm going to redo it in Drupal. And that's something like, okay, I hope they finish, because this is a risk. But it turned out that the part of the abstractions where most students had troubles with, the ones doing it in Drupal, actually, they were obliged to do it, because that's the way Drupal already was structured. And so I thought like, yeah, well, maybe I should put more focus on it next year. So it was their decision. So in 2007, 2008, I start strongly encouraging to build on Drupal modules. So 2007, 2008, the course is running right now. At this moment, there are several projects. I'll just show you a few of them. There are more, but I want to show these 3 because they are so different. Yes. The first one is done by someone with a programming background. He's using the Drupal web service module to integrate it with Flex. It's quite technical, I believe, if you have never done it before. So he has a clear focus on the technology. Yes. And then there's another project called. The idea is here to have a fit for all hotels. So you can have all. So okay, you have hotel. If it mostly have like a list of requirements they want before they even get to your hotel, so the management should make sure that this list is fulfilled. So, but why not using a Drupal system for it? Try to integrate more modular fields for where you can define all kinds of requirements they can select, and let them just make their own profile. So the student is now exploring this. So it's less on the technical, he'll probably stay more inside Drupal itself, while this one is really trying to explore the state of the art in technology. And then a third, totally different project is Hangman. Everyone knows about Hangman? No? It's a game. It's a game where you need to find a word, and you only have like 5 or 7 steps. And if you're not fast enough, there's going to be a drawing of a man that gets hanged, and then it's finished. So the funny part is, well, I don't know why, but the student selected it, and he's now trying to create a module with Hangman in it. So it's more refactoring than anything else, but I like it. So the conclusion of where I'm at this moment is. Now there's clearly more focus on the projects. So the problem I had last year that they were like trying to create the functions for a login and all that kind of stuff. Those got away. Yeah? So, like I already said, Drupal clearly pushes the students to be more abstractive in their coding. Why? Because all the code they'll see is nice abstract. Yes? I think well. If you see through the PHP code that's out there, you can find a lot more ugly stuff than what you can, for example, have in the Drupal core modules, definitely. Some of the contributed modules are also like a functional base, but you have very clean code in comparison to what's out there for PHP, okay? For PHP. Okay, so more differentiation, that's what I try to show up with the TWE project over there. So for next year we are going to, so the last 2 years were prototypes. For next year I'm going to make Drupal obligated, because I'm really glad about how it evolved. So, yeah, well, this is for next year, so I'm finished with my talk, okay? Any questions? Or did I just cut too far? Yes?
The thing is, is Drupal just an easy way because it helps the students to reduce a lot of the functionality, thinking about the functions, instead they can just do it using CCK and views, or what makes it easier?
Well, there are several issues. First of all, you see that Drupal community is one of these communities that tries to make this synergy between open source and business. I think they have a clear goal towards this. They have a very live manual system. I don't know, like a few presentations earlier, there was some complaints about the search, but if you just go and have a look to the manuals, I think it's already nice. There's a community. Okay, they are not really in the community. I would love to have that, but maybe that's already a little bit too complicated. But I think it's a combination of everything. It is a very clean code. There are several very interesting issues. There are a lot of modules they can start learning and integrating from. And the fact that Drupal, okay, it is already a quite large framework, but it's 1/3 a framework and then 2/3 a content management system where you give a service with. So it's like the most fit combination to try to do this service on the web thing and combining it with measure programming thing. And till now I didn't really find a better solution. Like, well, maybe because if you go back to this drawing, yes, I would see. I mean, if I would translate it to CMS, I would call this the Joomla curve. I don't know if anyone have looked at the code of Joomla, but I got out of it very quickly. I would call this the Ruby on Rails curve. Like, you can find a lot of SWOT analysis telling like, Ruby on Rails is great, we're going to keep watch on it. But we're not going to use it right away. So it's kind of my impression that it doesn't really have this nicely balanced. It's not for nothing that the balanced one is nicely blue. Okay, other questions?